Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Madam Speaker, I have found this a fascinating exposition in avoiding actual facts. So right now, when we're looking at emissions in Canada are at the lowest they've been in almost 3 decades, and that's actually verified by independent reports. So when the member opposite keeps talking about everything that he believes we should do to stop fighting climate change, I'm fascinated because we actually see that what we're doing is working. But let's say one more thing, because I have this question. Economists across Canada have said that the most efficient way to fight climate change is the price on carbon pollution. If they want to remove it, what's the Conservative plan?
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisgar.
Well, I thank my honourable colleague for the question, although I wish she would have listened to my speech, because what I was talking about is how the Liberals need to stop wasting money without achieving any results. And we, in fact, know that the Liberal government is failing in its objectives thanks to the work of the Environment Commissioner, highlighting that they are not on track in any way to meet their stated emissions reduction goals. We also have a report showing that Canada is 62nd of 67 in the world. We are last in the G7. If this is achieving something, I don't know what they think they are trying to accomplish here. They are failing. And in terms of the carbon tax, I would invite that member to come to my riding, talk to my constituents, and try to see if they think they're better off under this carbon tax.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech. The recommendation 2 of this report asks that we require the government to prove that these are efficient means before we implement them. The first thing I'm thinking of is carbon capture. We've been talking about this all day. It's been tested elsewhere, and it doesn't work. So I would like to hear what my colleague has to say about this. Does he think that we should first prove that this works elsewhere before investing colossal amounts in this? I don't want it to blow up in 15 years.
Well, thank you for the question, and I appreciate that member understands the need to actually focus on results for taxpayer dollars. And in terms of carbon capture and storage, yes, it seems like a promising lead in a way to actually reduce emissions. And the good news is the private sector is leading the way in this. They are the ones that are trying to make investments and reduce their emissions. So while the technology is promising, I think there is so much more because we are innovative. If we had a government that stopped stifling through regulation and legislation the innovators and entrepreneurs in this country, we would more rapidly, through technology, not taxes, achieve the emissions reduction goals that this country has aimed to, and under a Conservative government, we will.
Honourable Member for Victoria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, but the member didn't completely answer the question. Really, my colleague's question was about, are you going to hand over public money to private companies for an unproven technology that, in other areas is being used to produce more oil, to raise emissions? Carbon capture and storage, as the IPC has said, is one of the most expensive, least proven at scale technologies to meet our net zero goals. This government has given over $5.8 billion to profitable oil and gas companies when they could be doing this themselves. Will the member commit to pushing for private investment into carbon capture and storage if they so choose, but to no longer put public money into unproven technology?
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisgar.
Thank you to my colleague from the Environment Committee. Listen. CCUS is one example. What I'm focused on, I think the first principle as when the new common sense Conservative government steps in, is to review programs like this to see where money has been wasted and where it has been successful. And thanks to the work of the Environment Commissioner, we now know that this is a failed project. Once again, I am more than proud to say that we are going to unleash Canada's energy potential. Stop the strangulation of our energy sector and let them do the investing both in terms of emissions reductions and, yes, creating wealth for Canadians once again in this country.